Welcome to the CBJ Sports Roundup. It's your host, Marcus, and I'm with Joel today. How are you, Joel?
I'm very good, thank you. Looking forward to going through the roundup today with you.
All right, we're going to waste no time. We're going to go straight into it. Brentford versus Nottingham Forest on Saturday, and away lost 3-2, continuing the bad away form. Even though it was an early goal from Danilo, unfortunately, there was an equaliser from Tony from a controversial free kick, which we will talk about. And ultimately, silly mistakes at the back have cost Forest again, which we spoke about on last Thursday. And Ben Mee took the lead from the corner, which again says a lot about Forest's poor defending from set pieces. And then eventually Wood did equalise, making it 6-6, being one of the most informed strikers in the league. And unfortunately, Mopai took the lead in the last 10 minutes and left Forest with no points coming back to Nottingham. What did you make of that game, Joe?
Well, I want to talk about the first goal to begin with, because that Danilo was an absolute cracker. It's unfortunately they didn't get any points from that, because that goal alone deserved 3 points. He's a wayward clearance from the Brentford centre-back, and he's cushioned it down superbly onto his knee, and then with his stronger foot, he's just volleyed it home. No chance for the keeper. But, I mean, last time we did one of these rounds up, I was slating Chris Wood. But he, at the moment, is revitalised under Nuno, and sometimes players do that under the right manager. So maybe I was wrong in saying he might not be the man to fire them, to keep them in the Premier League on recent form. The match itself, you've kind of said it already. It's shooting themselves in the foot defensively again. Conceding 3 goals to Brentford, who haven't scored too many recently. I know Tony's back, controversially scored, but I feel like that's they've lost the 3 points by themselves.
It's quite interesting to see that they have appointed a set piece coach, but still managed to be very poor for set pieces. It was Ben Mee at the front post, and Murillo, even though he's been in such incredible form, he kind of struggled, and you can tell that he's 21. He's only had 43 professional appearances in his career, and it's tough to see. And even though Nuno should be able to set up a defence, he normally can. He is limited by his personnel, even though there was, not very strong performances at the back, the midfield played very strongly. Danilo had a great game. Mangala had a great game in both boxes and had lots of chances to actually score, but he didn't take any of them. And he could be off, but I think it would be a mistake because he is very good. But we'll talk about the free kick. Did you see it, Joel? Did you see the controversy over it?
Yeah, I mean, he's the wrong person to be cheating right now, is Tony, on his first game back. But no, it's they've obviously appealed, haven't they? It's a little advantage he's given himself, but when a free kick's that close to the 18-yard line, any advantage there is quite pivotal. So I can see the anger of the Forest players, and everyone connects to Forest about that, because he has moved it forward, but he's also moved it to a better side. So he can. I mean, it's the difference of lacing the ball and going for a curler from that angle. So yeah, no, it's not good, but there's also a lot of minutes to be played after that. So you can only use that as an excuse for that moment of the game. Obviously, they've been hard done by, but there's 90 minutes of football to play, so it's only an excuse for a period of time, I think.
I think it was, even though he did that, and players do that all the time, they do it with throw-ins, they always go a little bit forward, they free kicks, they always move it a little bit, corners as well, try and put it as much on the edge as possible. It was still Turner who just couldn't organise a wall.
Yeah.
And you see a video of him and Ryan Yates arguing on where to put the wall. They even put someone, Danilo lying down. They went to so much preparation for that, but didn't even realise that he'd left the whole corner. and also his positioning was awful. He didn't even dive.
It's just
Such a goal that could have been prevented so easily.
You're going back to basics, and this is what Forest are sort of forgetting at the moment. Matt Turner, who I've got my doubts about anyway, not being able to control a wall, that's Sunday league level sort of football stuff. No disrespect to Sunday goalkeepers, but it's something that as a goalkeeper that should be done in your sleep. And like you mentioned an argument with Yates about how to set the wall up, you're professional footballers. So obviously something's going to come from that. Cheated, not really cheated, but gaining an advantage. Like it's basics that are shooting Forest and where they are in the league at the moment.
And ultimately, you deserve to lose when you're making mistakes like that. So you can't they can't argue about that because you've made your own mistakes. Your actions have consequences, and ultimately Brentford probably did deserve to win. And it's looking at Forest's bench, there was nothing to come on. It was mostly under 21 players, youth academy players, because they have so many players injured. Players that they were missing: Morgan Gibbs-White, Elanga, both contributing to the goals in pretty much every game they play. Looking forward for January 30th, they're playing Arsenal, and it looks like Morgan Gibbs-White and Elanga will be back, and possibly a return for Iwani. And that could be massive, despite Chris Wood being in great form. Iwani is, I think he's one of their top goal scorers, and he's been injured for most of the season. So that says a lot. How important do you think Morgan Gibbs-White and Elanga returning could be?
It's pivotal for them. Absolutely. The way they changed, they're a very much more dynamic side with Gibbs-White especially, but Elanga gives an option on the wing that they don't have another player who can do that. So having Elanga back, that itself, that's a player with quality who can keep them up on his own because he's really shone this year. And again, same with Gibbs-White. There's going to be more chances for whoever plays up top if it's Iwani back in, or if it's Wood who's on form. Because I can't believe I'm saying this, but you can't really drop Chris Wood at the moment because he's scoring goals. But and with players who are slightly more dynamic than Wood around him, I think there could be a very good chance they may get something out of it.
The problem is that they don't have a lot of pace when those players aren't there. And when you're playing a counter-attacking style, you have to have pace. They were playing Ryan Yates in quite an advanced position in the game, and that's just not going to work. Like we spoke about last week, is he the creative spark? No, he wasn't.
No.
He wasn't. So that was our answer question. Question answered, and that does leave Forest 4 points above the relegation spots with Luton. They do have the game in hand, and Luton are in good form. And obviously, there is possible points deduction.
Yes.
But, it was always going to be tough this January. It was always going to be tough. They're missing so many players. And I think by the time they play Arsenal, they'll have quite a few back. So we'll talk about AFCON, who could come back.
Yes.
And today, actually, the group with two of the teams in it is decided. So Ivory Coast and Nigeria. We said that they were going to play. They played on Thursday. Nigeria beat Ivory Coast 1-0.
Yes.
And so that leaves Nigeria second in the group and Ivory Coast third. But, as the best performing third place team, they will go through. But it depends on the game, but it will almost guarantee go through. So there won't be any players from those two coming back. And then Senegal played on Friday. They beat Cameroon 3-1. Niakate was an unused sub, and so was Kiote. And their game is tomorrow at 5. They're top of the group, so they will go through it either way. So unfortunately, Forest, none of those players will be back anytime soon. But there'll be more hope in the players come back from injury. and it looks like they will be struggling on the bench for a lot longer now. But with the FA Cup on the weekend, they could rotate, they could rest.
Well, if I'm Forest, by the way, I'd be fuming because there's you're sending players off to AFCON, and there's your players are an unused sub, and they could be sat on your bench or starting because there's starters that have gone to the AFCON, and they're unused. So if I was Nuno, I'd be a bit. Obviously, you can't have an agreement where if your player goes to AFCON, you say, right, you've actually got to play him. But if you've got, like you said, the bench against Brentford was a lot of under 21. Joe Worrell, Scott McKenna were back on the bench, who seemingly had been frozen out. That's the issue with a tournament during a league season, that you send your players, because obviously really proud to represent the country, but if you go and you're an unused sub, then it's a bit of a kick in the teeth for Forest, who have now seen themselves in a very tricky situation from now until the end of the season.
Exactly that. And I think Nuno will be frustrated, but you've got to play with the cards that you've been dealt with. And we'll move on from AFCON onto Notts County, who when we were speaking on Thursday, we thought, we were talking about Neil Warnock. That did not happen. It's Stuart Maynard from Wealdstone, National League side. And he is the new manager, coming from part-time to full-time now, and kind of sticking with the same philosophy. The owners kind of promoting young managers instead of. And I think we did say that Neil Warnock would probably be a bit of not a great choice, and they stuck with their philosophy. Wealdstone have been in the National League for quite a few years now, with the limited resources, and I think Stuart Maynard had done so much. Even though they were part-time, they were doing full-time things. They were setting up absolutely everything, almost running most aspects of the club, and it'll be really interesting to how they transition into full-time. You don't see that a lot in the AFL, like part-time. And how much better can he deal with full time? Was it working because it was part time? Who knows? But they do play a similar style. They will stick with three at the back. That free flowing football. They'll be scoring loads, but they will be conceding goals. I actually saw a stat that Notts County have been involved in 112 goals this season, both ways.
Wow!
And that in the first interview or the press conference, Stuart Maynard said that we have to deal with the structural issues with the defence, and he said that we're going to stick with the back three, and it's not, necessarily individual mistakes, but he actually said it's going to be from the front. So we're going to most likely see a very intense high press from the front line, from McGoldrick and Langstaff.
Yeah.
And I imagine he's going to get. That will be the main thing. Because it doesn't matter what he does. There will be goals. He just needs to stop them coming from one end. And they have one of the worst defences in the league, but are still in the playoff places. I think that says a lot. But more entertainment for the county fans. How do you think this one goes? I know he's not exactly a well-known appointment, so it's only guesswork from everyone. But it could. Do they stay in the playoff places? Do you think?
First of all, I'm very excited by the appointment because, like you said, the club have stayed strong to their philosophy, and they've obviously got a plan. And I'm all for clubs that have got a 5 to 10 year plan. Let's say. I think I don't want to say carbon copy, but I think it'll be similar football. But obviously, Maynard now knows that. How many goals have they been involved in?
112 this season.
And about 50 odd of them have been conceded.
Mm-hmm.
So Maynard knows that he will obviously, whilst producing free-flowing football, the defensive aspect of the game needs to be honed in on. But a young manager who's proved himself in National League, getting a chance in the EFL, and also quitting his job to become full-time. I think that's it's a lovely story, and well, I wish them the best because it's a great club. And yeah, I think they'll be all right. It's going to be really exciting to see how they get on.
I think this is great. This is a great sign of faith to young English managers.
Yeah.
We always say we need more English managers, and I think this is what most clubs should do. They should look in the lower leagues. They should look at the league below them because there's so many that are ready to step up. There's not many who'd be thinking these guys are part time. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Put faith in young coaches who are passionate. They clearly know how to work hard. And speaking of, only a few days in the job, but they have signed someone already, Jaden
Yes,
Moore from Norwich, on loan, young centre-back prospect. And he's Norwich plays similar style, ball playing. So they've specifically learned him out there so he can play similar style, 3 at the back. And he was actually captain in the Norwich under 21, so he's a leader. He looks like he's physically built.
Yes.
And that was the problem with Notts County, is that their centre backs were a bit old, and a lot of the goals were probably because the quality just isn't high enough from the centre backs. They were good National League players, but not necessarily League Two. So we'll see how that goes, and maybe more signings will be coming up. I think that rounds up the sports roundup. We will have one tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow, probably early on, another roundup. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.